Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Triple Threat Show. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is a beautiful trade deadline Thursday. That's right, it is February 5th, 2026, the official NBA trade deadline at 3 p.m. today. We will take you up through about 10 a.m. here, talk about all the big trades from yesterday because it's been popping off. One of the weirdest trade deadlines that I can remember in my entire lifetime. Anthony Davis joins Trae Young going to the Wizards. The Wizards, one of the biggest buyers of the entire deadline. We'll talk about that. How about the Warriors making a big move for a superstar in Kristaps Porzingis? We'll talk about that as well and where that leaves them with the Giannis situation. The Bulls are the biggest sellers of the deadline. We'll go over what they have brought to the table, what they got back, and what that means for their future, as well as all the other trades that happened yesterday, and previewing a potential big trade in the final hours of the NBA trade deadline here on the Triple Threat Show. But to help me break down all of that, I've got my friend and co-host Mehrob Fatemi. How are you doing today?
What's going on, Jeremy? Let's have a beautiful trade deadline preview. I think there's going to be a bunch of moves still to come. We've had some crazy ones already, especially ones that hit close to home for you. I'm excited to get right into it. How you doing on this beautiful Thursday?
It's a beautiful day. It's not as cold as it has been outside, and the snow and ice is starting to melt. So everything is going great. And let's start off with the big trade from yesterday, because this one is creating shockwaves throughout the league. Anthony Davis goes to the
Your
Washington
team.
Wizards.
Your
This one
team.
is fascinating because when you just look at this in a vacuum, you see the Mavericks getting Chris Middleton, A.J. Johnson, Malachi Branham, Marvin Bagley, 2 first-round picks, and 3 seconds. But you have to look at it a little bit more because they gave up Anthony Davis, Jaden Hardy, D'Angelo Russell, and Dante Exum to the Wizards for the Thunder pick this year and the Warriors pick in 2030 that's top 20 protected. So if the Warriors are good, they'll get the pick. But if the Warriors fall off a cliff at all after Steph Curry goes away, the Wizards get to keep that pick. So this is not necessarily a great trade for the Mavericks right now, but really at the end of the day, they're just trying to get off of that salary. He's making nearly $50 million, is Anthony Davis, every single year. And he's an asset that they just don't trust to stay healthy and on the floor. And that is a valid concern if you are the Dallas Mavericks, but you can look at this a whole bunch of ways. One of the ways that you can look at this is, what did the Mavericks get for Luka? They got Chris Middleton for Luka. They turned Chris Middleton into Luka and like 5 second-round picks. That's what they were able to do. That is disgusting mismanagement by an organization. And now you look at this team that clearly is heading into a hard rebuild after drafting Cooper Flagg, who seems like the real deal down there. Now they move off. The Wizards, on the other hand, Mehrob, they get Anthony Davis, and they're starting to build something over there. You look at a potential starting lineup next year of Anthony Davis, Alex Sarr, whoever they pick with the top 5 pick, whether that be AJ Abansta, Darren Peterson, Boozer, or any of these other top players that are coming out of the draft. Trey Johnson and Trae Young in your starting 5. That's a pretty good starting 5. Coming off the bench, you've got Bilal Coulibaly, one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. Bub Carrington. You've got Keontae George as well, and a lot more of those young guys. This is a Wizards team that will go minimum 8 deep next season. And the big concern with Anthony Davis for me, Mehrob, the injuries, even if he gets hurt, Alex Sarr is right there to step up and play center. I don't see a downside for the Wizards. Am I crazy for that?
Nope, absolutely not. It's Anthony Glass Davis for a reason, and then you add Trae Young to him, who's not much better. We're gonna see these two guys take the floor for like 5 games. We're gonna be up, hype, ready to go to watch these guys play. But at the end of the day, these guys do get hurt a lot. So if they can stay healthy, who knows? They could do some things with Alex Sarr, with a top 5 pick potentially at the end of this season. We can see where they're going to go with this team. With Bob Carrington as well, they could do some things. But at the end of the day, it's all ifs, it's all buts, unless these guys can stay on the floor, can come up and stay healthy. That's what it's all about. I love this move for the Wizards. I think this is a nice move. This is a veteran move to bring in a guy like Anthony Davis with Trae Young. It would be electrifying. It would electrify Washington. Two of the best players that we've seen Washington have in like what, half a decade since Bradley Beal and John Wall were there. And even then, you could argue Anthony Davis is better than both of them. Um, and at least talent wise. So this is a big time move for the Wizards. I'm shocked that it happened. I mean, as a Wizards fan, how did it hit you to see that those guys came to your city? I mean, with the state of the Wizards, especially right now.
And this is not something the Wizards usually do. I couldn't really believe it when it happened, but this is a new Wizards team, new ownership. They're coming in, they're trying to make stuff happen. The rebuild is done. The Wizards are going to be good next year.
That was a very hesitant good.
Well, look, can you blame me? This is a Wizards team that has not been good in like
I
10
cannot blame
seasons, maybe even longer than that.
I cannot blame you.
So there is risk to this, right? Because the Wizards are a team that I think has the ability to be a top 5, 6 seed in the East, a playoff team in the East next season with that starting lineup, right? But it's also a lot of young, unproven guys that have not played together, guys that we don't know how they're going to mesh, guys that we don't know if they're going to be able to stay healthy, guys that we don't know are going to be able to live up to the expectation. Again, you're relying on a lot of young talent, and then your veteran in Anthony Davis, who, again, glass bones Anthony Davis over there. We don't know we don't know how long he's going to be able to play, and he's only getting older, which is going to make it harder and harder for him to be able to stay durable, harder and harder for him to be able to stay out there on the court. Trae Young doesn't necessarily have those same injury issues, but he does have concerns on the defensive side of the ball. I think that this Wizards team is good enough defensively, even with him out there. Again, that combination down low of Alex Sarr, who is, I think, the best rim protector in all of basketball, maybe outside of Wemby, and Anthony Davis, who is a defensive player of the year level guy when he's playing. You put those two guys down low, no one's scoring. If you put an all defense lineup out there for the Wizards with Bilal Coulibaly playing your perimeter defense and a bunch of the other guys out there as well, this is a team that's not going to be fun to go up against offensively, even if you can just attack Trae Young. So I think you're kind of building in a foil to Trae Young on the defensive side, and also Trae Young famously loves to make lobs up to those big guys, whether that be Alex Sarr, whether that be Anthony Davis. That's going to be a really good pairing. But I think the key here is the Wizards didn't give up their own picks, right? Even if this doesn't work out for any multitude of reasons, injuries, or these players don't mesh, or the young guys don't take that step up that we're all expecting them to do, this is a Wizards team that can survive that because they'll still have their own picks after this. This is huge for them. They are not in a position at all where I feel threatened by the fact that they went in and said the rebuild is done. Because even if the rebuild isn't done, there are plenty of reasons to say they aren't going to have to sell everything away, sell away those young pieces and be stuck in another 5-10 year rebuild like they were before.
No, 100%. And it's also going to depend on who they draft here with their top 5 pick at the end of this year. I'm not really well versed on the college basketball world yet, but I know especially with in the next month with March Madness around the corner, we're probably going to see a lot of these young players flourish. And that's where their draft stock kind of goes through the roof. That's where it finally gets decided. So it's just a big pool of guys. Maybe there's a few that can separate themselves at the beginning of the regular season in college basketball, but it's really playoffs. It's the tournament. It's the NCAA tournament that really separates the guys. We'll see who they draft. It's going to be really interesting. This Washington Wizards team, really young, mixed with a couple veterans that can lead the way. We'll see how it goes. Let's pivot over to where do you want to pivot? You feel like pivoting to Boston, or you feel like pivoting to Golden State first?
Real quick, Mehrob, I want your thoughts on this. How does this Wizards team look next year? Does this Wizards team make the playoffs? What is a realistic win total from an unbiased source?
I think their ceiling is definitely the play-in tournament. I don't see them being a top 6 team. I think it's definitely the play-in tournament. Um, they're That's their ceiling. Their floor is being like the 12 seed again, which would suck, especially since they've been like that for the last like decade, or not decade, but like half decade at least. But I would see, I want to stay optimistic. I would say probably like 10, 11 seed, maybe 10 seed.
We'll take it. I think you're a little bit low on them, but we will take it. Let's go to that next trade. We're gonna go in chronological order because this one came almost immediately on the heels of that Anthony A. Davis trade, and I think it went a little bit under the radar. The 76ers made a move sending Jared McCain to the Thunder. The champs, they get a guard. This comes right before the news that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander dealing with an abdominal strain and isn't going to play until at least after the All-Star break. That's when he will get reevaluated. We saw the Thunder struggle last night a little bit against the Spurs, although that's nothing new for them. This is a huge loss for them. But now they get Jared McCain, a guy who I think would have won Rookie of the Year last year, Mehrob, if it wasn't for his injury. And the Sixers just give up on him really quickly. I know they have a lot of great guards, right? They've got Maxey, they've got Edgecombe, they've got Paul George when he comes back from his 25-game suspension. Jared McCain doesn't necessarily have a role carved out for him right now. But there is reason to hold on to him, right? This feels like it's way too early to move off of McCain, especially for just getting a Thunder like a late first pick this year and a couple of flyers in the second round. I feel like McCain is a guy that could help build a team, maybe not a superstar level guy, but a guy that you could build around as like a third option and for the next couple seasons.
Indeed, 100%. I mean, he's a great player, especially he doesn't need a whole lot of when you don't put the pressure on him, he actually proves he can be a good player and that he can show up in big moments and be an X factor kind of guy. And that's all you really need from him. So I think it's a really good move, honestly.
Yeah, no, like I said, he's not necessarily going to be a number one guy, but when you add him to a Thunder team that's already as loaded as they are, first of all, they did not need more talent. He's going to win. They're going to win the next two championships as long as everyone stays healthy. But now they have a replacement. They have more depth at that guard position. They really like to thrive on that 3 and D kind of situation. And McCain is a three-point shooter for sure. He's not as good of a defender as some of those guys on the Thunder, but that's not to say at all that he's a bad defender, right? He's a guy that can step up and play solid defense in the NBA. Of course, in a limited sample size, he's dealt with a lot of injuries, but you look at that Thunder team, I don't think Alex Caruso re-signs with them. I think that's going to be a little bit too expensive after what he's done and how the role that he has played for this Thunder team down the stretch in their championship run, at least last year, and the way he's playing this year. I don't know how much they really want to keep playing Lou Dort. He's a great defender, but teams know how to attack him, and he's not very great on offense. So you have options now. Of course, you have more guys on the bench that they could always pivot to, but having a guy in McCain, more flexibility, that offense is guaranteed to be there. You need a bucket. He's a guy that you know can be relied upon to get it, but also he's not going to be a liability on the defensive end. This is just a huge move for the Thunder. I don't know why teams keep giving them deals like this. They are never, ever going to lose another basketball game, it seems like.
I mean, just just remember how good Jared McCain was last season with the Sixers. I know you're thinking about a small sample size, but there were a couple games when Tyrese Maxey was out and McCain was the only one starting out of the group. No Paul George, no Embiid, no Maxey, and he would go out and be able to score 25 points a night with like 10 assists. At least I can remember at least two games. I'm saying it's a small sample size of those situations, but that's how good he can be. He was averaging 12 points a game last season. He's a good player, and you're plugging him into a system with SGA and the way that they play basketball. It's not, you don't really have to play around Maxey and Embiid. You get to play with SGA with the ball pretty much on a yo-yo when they play together on that team. He's going to get his fill of touches. He's going to get his fill of shots. He does not need to worry about that. And he's a good defender. He's a great on-ball defender. He's not a blocker because he's a little bit of a shorter guy. But in terms of having good hands, being able to steal the ball, yes, he is very good with that. And he's a great defensive player. So He's a great two-way player, I would say. So I think the Thunder really got a good player in this one, especially with the potential of losing J-Dub in this offseason because they have too much money to spend on the rest of their guys. We'll see how it all plays out, but this is a really, really big move for the Thunder. I'm with you. I don't know if they're going to lose again. I think this makes them. Who else are you going to pick against them with the rest of the Western Conference? I think this has to solidify them as the best team.
They've got to stay healthy. Obviously, monitor that SGA injury as much as we can. That's going to be a key to them. My potentially favorite move, if my team hadn't made a move, this would have been my favorite move of the day, Mehrob. Kobe White, I think, is one of the most underrated players in basketball. He is so, so good. And the Hornets, who have been red hot, I think they are a really underrated threat in the East. You add Kobe White to this team, and I might be drinking the crazy juice. Maybe I'm hopped up on that Hornet venom. But I'm telling you, Mehrob, you add Kobe White to this team with the way that Knipple is playing, with the way that LaMelo Ball is playing, with the way that Musa Diabate is playing, with the way that this team is playing together, with the way that I'm blanking on his name, Miller from Alabama,
Brandon Miller.
Brandon Miller, the way that he is playing right now. These guys are so good, and you add Kobe White to that mix, and you didn't even have to give up too much. You gave up Colin Sexton, you gave up Osman Yang, and 3 second-round picks. So you gave up Colin Sexton and 3 second-round picks for Kobe White and old Mike Conley. Mike Conley's going to be a veteran presence in that locker room. He's been there before. He's gone deep into the playoffs with teams like the Grizzlies that didn't necessarily have the biggest superstar, but they all played together as a team. And this it's not a perfect comparison because that Grizzlies team was more defensive oriented than offensive, but it's like an inverted Memphis Grizzlies team that Mike Conley was on back in those 2010s, right? That's the kind of team that this Hornets team reminds me of because you have these guys playing together. This isn't a give the ball to one guy, they're going to go off. Everyone is going off in every single game, it seems like. Their offense has been elite, and you add Kobe White to that mix, Mehrob. Oh, my God. This offense is going to be disgusting.
Is that mine? Is that my phone? Yep, that was my laptop. I was confused. I thought it was yours. Sorry.
You're good.
We're having
No, but this
technical
offense is going to be disgusting with adding Kobe White to this mix. How do you see this affecting them going forward? Does this make them real contenders in the East?
Yeah, I mean, you're adding a 20-point per game score whenever he wants on a team like the Hornets right now that are pretty much first in every scoring category since the calendar year started. I gave you the numbers at the end of the last show that we did on Monday. They're first in points per game. In the last 15 games, they're first in points per game. They're first in 3-point percent shooting. They're first in field goal percentage. They're first in defensive points per game, allowing and in terms of how much they allow. I mean, they're first in pretty much every in a lot of categories right now, and at least top 3. I'm missing a bunch right now. I just don't have the list in front of my face. And you add a guy like a Kobe White, who's pretty much just like imagine Jared McCain, but like not a lot better than at basketball, but kind of slightly better at basketball and a lot better offensively. Kobe White is a damn good offensive presence on the basketball floor. When he's able, the amount of shots he's able to put up, the clip that he shoots at, I mean, he's a 30, he's a career 40% shooter from the field. He's a career, what is he? Like he's a 38% from 3 guy. He's a great defensive player, like I said. I think he's good. This is a great move for the Hornets. They needed another shooter, another offensive presence. This only adds to Knipple's off assist total. And I think this Hornets team just became a top 6 team in the Eastern Conference. That might be crazy to say, but someone's going to get bounced out now. Like the Heat might get bounced out if they're not able to make a move for Giannis. We're probably going to get into that in a little bit. The Raptors, maybe. The Magic haven't been playing great basketball with Paolo and the rest of the crew. Someone's going to get bounced out here. That's how good the Hornets are.
Yeah, no, the Hornets are on fire too right now, right? You talk about a team that's won 7 straight games. You talk about a team that is red hot and a team that is climbing up fast. this standings board in the East. You want to look at a crazy starting lineup. You take a look at LaMelo Ball, Concanipple, Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, Musa Diabate in the starting lineup, with Kobe White as the sixth man off the bench, right? This is a team that is not only elite offensively, but one that goes deep. You don't just have Kobe White on the bench. You have guys like Trey Mann who can just drop a random 30 bomb if you give him enough opportunities, right? Mike Conley might be old, but he's a good veteran presence to have down there. I am a little bit worried about the depth at the center position. Musa Diabate is playing great, but he's still young, and I don't know if he's going to be able to hold up in some of these big pressure moments against some of the better centers in the league. But if they can put up 170 points in every game, it just simply doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
This is a team that's going to continue to be a threat because of that offensive presence, because of the fact that they now have 5 guys that are averaging more than 15 points a game. That's ridiculous. That's not a normal clip. That's not something that teams are supposed to be able to have every single night. This Hornets team, I absolutely love. And I mean, right now, you look at where they sit at in the standings, they're not quite in that playoff race yet. They're sitting at the 11 seed in the East, but ahead of them, the Bulls. They just traded away a bunch of pieces. They're going full tank mode, and we'll talk about the Bulls side of the thing, the trade, in a second here. The Atlanta Hawks are ahead of them, too. They also just traded away a bunch of players. The Heat and the Magic, they're slipping while the Hornets are rising. The Raptors and the Sixers are those 5 and 6 team right there, but I could very easily seeing this team getting up to minimum spot 9 in the East, all the way up to spot 5, or spot 5 if they continue to play the level of basketball that they've been playing. They are the second hottest team in basketball. The Knicks have won 8 straight, so they're not quite the hottest, but they are right up there playing incredible basketball with everyone else right now. So absolutely, I'm on the same page. I am all in on the Charlotte Hornets. They're at minimum a play-in team. And think about it this way. You see them in the play-in, they get that 8 seed, they play the Detroit Pistons. That series would be so much fun.
Yeah, no. I mean, they're the 11 seed pretty much. They're the 11 seed right now, riding a 7-game win streak. These standings are about, to flip on their head, and we're just waiting to see it. This team is ready. It's been launched out of a cannon. Right now, the standings don't show it. They're hinting at it, but they're not showing it yet. Give it about a week, 2 weeks. I think we're ready to have another conversation with them, not only in the play-in tournament, out of the play-in tournament, and in the playoffs. I think the Raptors got to be ready. All those teams between 6 through 10 need to be ready for a team like the Hornets to jump up and overtake them.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting scenario to watch. But let's take a look at the other side of the trade here, because the Chicago Bulls have been busy. They have been the team that is trading away everybody, right? We saw them now trade away Kobe White. We saw them trade away Vucevic the other day. They continue to make moves as they flip and get rid of salary. It is about time that this team finally made some moves to get out of this purgatory that they've been stuck in, Mehrob. This is a good move for the Bulls. They're finally tanking, but they haven't gone full tank mode yet, and I don't think they really got a great return for a guy like Kobe White that I think was the best player on their team. They only got Colin Sexton, Osman Dang, and 3 first-round picks. I think they should have gotten more. I don't know what else was being offered for Kobe White, but that one feels like a little bit of a failure of a deal on my end.
I agree. I mean, there's a bunch of teams that would have lined up for Kobe White's talents that would have paid more than a Colin Sexton, in my opinion. Colin Sexton's a nice player, but I mean, he was riding the bench of a Hornets team, and I'm not too sure how desperate the Bulls are to tank right now. It looks like it's pretty desperate with the way that they traded Kobe White. Also, they traded Nikola Vucevic for a second-round pick. Can we talk about that too? They gave him away for a bag of chips. Yes, he's 35 years old, but he is a former All-Star center. He's still a guy that can give you 14 and 10, and we talked about him.
They got Anthony Simons. Don't discount that. They didn't get him for a second-round pick. It was him for Anthony Simons, and they swapped second-round picks.
Okay. It's still Vucevic is all okay, yeah, you got me on that one. But still, I mean, that one I guess we can sweep under the bed. But I do think Kobe White could have gone for more, could have gone to a talented team like the Warriors, like the Rockets maybe who are in desperate need of another scorer right now. I think there would have been a lot of teams that would have lined up for Kobe White that would have paid more than a Colin Sexton. I'm with you on that one. I don't know what's going on with the Bills with the Bills with the Bulls. They're kind of just tanking. They're free falling right now in the Eastern Conference. They're
Yeah, I
really
mean
free.
the Bulls have been the biggest sellers at the deadline, and it's good. This has been years and years in the making. They've needed to make a move. They continue to just move off of salary, or I guess gain salary, so that they can go ahead and make this a successful tank. This is the year to do it. If you're gonna tank, you want one of these guys at the top. These are the guys you want. But it's not just the Bulls that are making some moves. Other teams continue to go out and get here. The going back to the Hornets real quick, they weren't done. They trade for Tyus Jones from the Magic. This isn't a huge one. Magic get cast considerations moving off of a bigger contract. But Tyus Jones is a guy that I think could help them a little bit on the defensive end. Again, he's not going to step up and be this huge piece. He's not going to be a sixth man. He's not going to be a seventh man. But he's probably going to find a way into that rotation. That's a nice little depth piece for the Hornets as they continue to build. But the other big move that took place yesterday had the Warriors. And we've had our eyes on the Warriors for a pretty long time, because that's been the team that's expected to go out and get a guy like Giannis. That was the guy that was the team that was supposed to match salary for Giannis. That one just doesn't seem like it's happening. Giannis doesn't seem like he's on the move. But the Warriors trade Jonathan Kuminga, Buddy Hield, and Buddy Hield, and Trace Jackson Davis in a 3-team deal. They get Kristaps Porzingis in a second-round pick. The Hawks get Jonathan Kuminga and Buddy Hield, and the Raptors, they get Trace Jackson Davis there. A couple guys that just weren't working out. Buddy Hield, I think, is a nice piece on offense for the Hawks, but again, the Hawks also feel like a weird team to me because, while Kristaps Porzingis wasn't necessarily healthy, he also is a guy that when he's out there, we've seen him contribute to championship teams with the Celtics. We've seen him put out great performances, but I don't know if that's the guy that you present to Steph Curry and you say, look, Steph, we're going to compete again. We got Kristaps Porzingis. No, that's not how that works. You do move off of Jonathan Kuminga. The saga is finally done. He goes to Atlanta. Buddy Hield going to Atlanta as well. Again, lots of offense. Jonathan Kuminga is fascinating. I wish him well. I think if he is in a new if he's in a new place, the change of scenery could do a lot for him. And the Raptors get a flyer on Trace Jackson Davis, a first rounder that has not quite worked out for the Warriors. But again, maybe a change of scenery, a new system can get the most out of TJD. We will see what happens with them. But give me your thoughts on this trade, because this one is kind of a mouthful in the way that you would break it down, Mehrob. There's a lot of different angles, so I'm curious how you attack this one.
I mean, yeah, this is a Warriors team that was in desperate need of a big man. That's why we always said that they're probably going to go out. They're probably the number one team that's going to go out there and try and land a guy like Giannis. Not only to pair him up with Steph Curry, because that would be eye candy, even if you didn't have eyes. But this is a team that was in desperate need of a big man, a guy that underneath the hoop that could get them rebounds, that could be a rim protector, that could anchor a defense. Now, Kristaps Porzingis isn't that. He is a guy that will get you rebounds, but he's not going to just sit there underneath the basket. He's also a three-point shooter. He's going to stretch the floor a lot, so it's an interesting one in that situation, in that perspective. But I mean, this Warriors team needed to do something. They're free falling, right? They're actually free falling in a Western Conference that is as loaded can be. They're 27 and 24, sitting in the 8th seed right now. Pretty much exactly where they were for the last 2 years, but I feel like they're a lot worse talent-wise than they were 2 years ago. Let me just go through with the team that they have built around them right now. This is their starting lineup: Steph Curry at point guard, Brandon Podziemski at the 2 at shooting guard, Draymond Green at small forward, Al Horford at power forward, and Kristaps Porzingis at center. You tell me what you think of that.
That is one of the
That,
starting lineups of
that
all time for
screams
sure.
old. That
Uh,
screams old. Yes, the all time meaning like they've been playing for thousands of years together. Yes, they're old. They screams old, and then Brandon Pajimski, who's like bipolar whenever he decides. One day goes out there and scores 25. The other night he scores 5. Like you just never know what he's gonna do. So in terms of this is just a really old lineup. Kristaps Glass, Porzingis. If we're gonna yell about Anthony Davis, we have to talk about Porzingis too in the same light. They both made out of glass here, and I don't know how this is gonna go, Jeremy. I mean, this is a Warriors team that needs to get better. I don't know if this is gonna do it for them. Maybe if Porzingis can stay healthy, we could see a little bit of improvements. We can see a couple extra wins, but I don't think this is gonna make a huge. I don't think this is a Splash Brothers level splash difference.
so here's the thought that's occurred to me literally in the last 10 seconds. Because we're going to switch to Giannis conversation here in a second, and that feat seems to be the big fish for the Warriors here. Is this a situation where they trade for Kristaps, flip him as the big money contract for Giannis instead of a Jimmy Butler who's hurt or a Draymond Green who might not be as desirable, along with a couple of those pieces and all of those first round picks that have been offered? Because that, in my mind, is a much more acceptable offer for Giannis than Pods, Kuminga, and a bunch of first with Draymond thrown in there or an injured Jimmy. If you replace Draymond or Jimmy with Porzingis, Pods, 4 first round picks, that sounds like a better package to me, at least in my mind, for the Bucks than a guy like Draymond or a guy like Jimmy in that package instead.
I agree. I mean, it would definitely be more eye candy. It would be better for the Bucks. No question about it. But I still don't think it's going to sway the Bucks. I mean, they already reported that the Bucks declined the Warriors offer last night. Now, this was 9 hours ago. This is about pretty much about the same time as they traded for Porzingis in that second round pick. Is that enough to sway them? We'll just have to see. But at this point, do we want to go full deep into Giannis talk right now, Jeremy? Is that the plan? Okay. Then yeah, then Giannis is just gonna have to be, and when we're talking about this, I also don't think Giannis is gonna get traded. I mean, at this point, what Shams has reported, with what everybody on ESPN, Brett Segal, has reported, it just doesn't seem like Giannis is on the move anymore. They've pretty much declined everybody's offers. The Heat gave him a haul. The Warriors have reportedly given them a haul. Both offers declined. I just don't think Porzingis in a second round pick is enough that's going to sway it. If it is enough, then that's shocking to me. Maybe that's just desperation mode from the Bucks at that point. But I just don't see a move where I don't see a world where the Bucks actually move Giannis at this point. I just don't see it.
Yeah, they're not playing. He's not playing another game for them. But Giannis is definitely the big name to watch here as we get into the final hours of the trade deadline. 5 hours to go, just about 5 hours and 9 minutes until there are no more trades allowed in the NBA. Giannis is the name to watch. Of course, we've talked about the failures of the other offers, how they haven't lined up, how might not play another game for the Bucks. But the Bucks are going to be patient, and they'll just trade him in the summer if they have to get that best offer, which is what they should do. They should not be in any rush to move off of Giannis unless they can get their first round picks back, because they're going to suck, and they don't have their first round picks, which means they're going to suck again next year, and that rebuild is not going to be fun. They need to get those picks back, which is why you see teams like Portland kind of enter these conversations. We have seen the Timberwolves be really active in this Giannis market. They've made a couple moves, like moving off of Mike Conley to clear up space for a potential Giannis trade. I don't know if they really have the movement for the Bucks that they want to make that move, but they've cleared up space. Now we see the Warriors, which looks like a trade for Porzingis is a pivot away from Giannis because it doesn't seem like they're going to get him. But I would be shocked if they didn't just throw it out there. Again, hey, Giannis or Porzingis. If you're the Warriors and you want to make one or two final runs with Steph Curry, you're taking Giannis every single time. It's not even a question, right? So throw that out there. See if they're more willing to take that. I doubt. I'm on the same page as you. I doubt that that is enough for the Warriors for the Warriors to push it over the edge to add Porzingis in a second to the deal. But still, four first round picks, including a couple of yours, and and they get Porzingis, who can step up and be kind of the centerpiece of that rebuild. They're just rebuilding the 2021 Washington Wizards. It seems like a little bit here, which maybe not the best place to be, but that's a successful tank right there. Those Wizards teams. So maybe you copy the tank and you can start to be successful in the next 5 years or so. It's tough in a small market. It's tough when your team isn't willing to spend, but moving off of Giannis getting those assets, you have to do it. You cannot just let his contract expire because he's not going to re-sign with you, and you need to get as much value as you possibly can from him. They could have traded him 2 years ago. With an extra year or two of control, do you know how much more those offers would have been? Giannis is such an elite player that people are willing to give 4 first round picks for a year and a half of him. Imagine how much they're willing to give for 2.5 years, or 3.5 years, or 3 or 2 years if you trade him in the summer. This is, I won't say complete mismanagement, but you need to know when it's time to move on, and it is time to move on. I don't think he gets traded at this deadline, but if he doesn't get traded in this summer, some heads need to roll in Milwaukee.
I think so. I think it's just it's the final stone in the coffin. It's the final nail in the coffin that actually puts it over the edge. If Giannis doesn't get traded, I don't even think Giannis wants to be in Milwaukee anymore. You see all of his social medias. He's deleted all of the posts that are linked to that organization. He doesn't have anything surrounding their name next to his name. It's just over. It's the time of Giannis being in Milwaukee is over. And there's a bunch of teams that are interested that are willing to give you a haul. I think what my original instincts was, and I'm still kind of staying true to them, was the Bucks were going to sit there and wait and wait and wait and wait and see what the best offer was and accept whatever the best offer is at the last second. That was what it was always in my mind, because this is a Bucks team that was in no rush to get rid of Giannis. Giannis wants to be gone. The Bucks don't care if he's there. If he's gone, he could be gone, and I think it would be smart to trade him so you at least get something for him instead of letting him walk in free agency. But at the end of the day, it just depends on whatever the Bucks think. I think the Bucks should trade him honestly today at like 3 o'clock, right before the trade deadline at 4. I think they will trade Giannis. That's what my idea is. Now, at least that's how I would think. Now, is that how I think Milwaukee will think? No, I think at this point they're probably not going to. And I listen to whatever Shams is saying because he's been such a trustworthy source from ESPN. But it could still happen, I don't know.
No, you're right. It could still happen. The trade deadline is about 5 hours away at this point. Mehrob, any big moves that you expect before the day is done, or or is this the final state of the NBA for the rest of the year?
I think the last trade that's going to happen is because these two sides, well, at least one of these sides definitely doesn't want this player to be there anymore. I think John Moran is gone by the trade deadline. I think he has to be gone tonight. The Grizzlies have already said they've already lowered their asking price for him. They're saying they will not work with John Moran on where he's going to go. I think they're desperate to get this man off their team. Now, who wants John Morant in that contract and the way that attitude, that play style, the off the court issues that come with John Morant? I don't know. There have been names like the Miami Heat that have been linked to him, even though now the Miami Heat apparently are switching a different direction. Um, there's a bunch. The Knicks are reportedly interested. There's a lot of teams that are interested right now in John Morant. I think he has to be gone. He has to be gone with the state of the Grizzlies right now. They've already traded away Jared Jackson Jr. They've already said they want to keep Zach Edey and Cedric Cowell as their cornerstones, and they want to build an organization with those two guys, which is nice. But John Morant does not fit in that recipe, in that formula whatsoever. I think John Morant has to be gone by the trade deadline.
We'll keep an eye out on Ja Morant, on Giannis, and all the other big names, and be back to you tomorrow. Early episode, 7:30, 8 o'clock is our start time. But thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in on this special trade deadline episode of the Triple Threat Show. We have been your hosts, Jeremy Lapidus and Mehrob Fatemi. We'll be back tomorrow to go over the Super Bowl. That's right, the Super Bowl is this weekend. It's been big NBA show this week, but the Super Bowl is here. We will preview that game. We will talk about the final trades of the deadline and much more. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.